This is the Chapter 10 video directions for the weekly presentation. And our topic this week is planning effective curriculum. And this is the heart of what a teacher does. It's figuring out what they're going to teach and how they're going to teach it. And it comes together with a lot of the different things we've talked about this last couple weeks. We talked about instructional strategies. We talked about individual needs of learners. Now we're talking about how to put those two together and teach our children. So we're going to work our way through this presentation, and we'll start with a question. What is curriculum? Then you'll get an answer. And there are 4 types of written curriculum. Make sure that you listen to the speaker, and it's going to share with you information on each of these 4 types of curriculum so you can understand the differences. The next question we ask, why is written curriculum important? And written curriculum is important for 2 reasons. First of all, quality is important, and you can read about that. And also, curriculum is important because it guides our decisions. And this is specific to any kind of curriculum. How do we know that a curriculum is effective? Look at all these reasons. These are all of our indicators of effective curriculum. And we know that curriculum that has each of these quality indicators is going to work with children. I'd like you to press on the speaker, and it's going to tell you all about each of these indicators in detail. Within a curriculum, we usually have standards. So what are standards? There are 3 different kinds of standards. And how do these standards guide the curriculum? They guide the curriculum in 3 different ways. Listen to the speaker at the bottom, and that will give you more information about how the standards influence our curriculum. And then we're going to learn how to align ourselves as teachers with the Common Core standards you use as your curriculum in Pennsylvania. This is a short little video of how we're going to use the state standard website, and also this is linked to the website if you want to go there yourself. How does the curriculum differ by age? You all have different ages of learners you want to work with in this course. So I'm going to show you how our curriculum differs. We have an infant and toddler curriculum, so read about that, and then click right here. This is going to take you to the Pennsylvania Learning Standards for Infants and Toddlers. You're going to browse them, and you're going to share on our Padlet board right here. You're going to do the same thing for the preschool curriculum. We have the pre-K standards right here, and you'll share on Padlet. And then last, we have our kindergarten and primary grade curriculum. That curriculum is on our Pennsylvania State Standards website, and you are going to have a chance to visit that. You can visit that now, or you can wait till later on. I'm not going to have you post on Padlet for this part, but it will tie directly into your lesson plan project that's coming up this week. How are different curriculum models organized? So we know there's curriculum for each different age level, but as a school district or center, you can pick different kinds of curriculum. Now, if you're working in the public school, you don't have a lot of choice in this matter. But if you're in some other educational avenue, you'll be able to decide what curriculum will best meet the needs of your students. So we have emergent curriculum. And make sure on this slide you watch the video and you click here to read the article that's linked. It's real short, but it gives you a nice explanation of emergent curriculum. We have integrated curriculum, and we have 2 videos to see an example of what it's like to see integrated curriculum in a classroom. Within integrated curriculum, this is not a different model, but it's an extension. We have a thematic unit curriculum. And I'd like you to click on our ladybug, and you can see that we have lots of information on the bug unit. Also, head over to Padlet, and this is a thematic unit board, and you can see all the different themes that you could use with different ages of learners. And also, when you're planning thematically, we do a lot of webbing, and this is how it looks when you're doing some general lesson planning for a weekly theme. So you can check that out as well. Now back to the models. So we have the emergent curriculum model, or the integrated curriculum model. We also have the project approach to curriculum. And so this is another example of the kind of curriculum that you'll see. Watch the video so you can see the project approach in action. They're all 3 great models. You have to know your learners to know which curriculum model would best meet their needs. Next question, what is scope and sequence? You'll hear that a lot. And so we have an answer. Okay. And then what are two types of early childhood curriculums? So specifically for early childhood, what kind of curriculum are we seeing? And we see that it's divided into comprehensive curriculum and focused curriculum, and there's a description of each one. And then we're going to look at the models of comprehensive curriculum that are most widely used. And these are specific curriculums that you can purchase or follow the guidelines to. So we have high scope curriculum. You can read about it on the left and watch a video example of it on the right. We have creative curriculum. Again, read on the left, watch on the right. We have core knowledge curriculum, same format, and tools of the mind curriculum. Chances are if you're in a daycare or a preschool or even a Head Start, you're going to see at least one of these models used because these are the forefront of curriculum for early childhood education. After viewing each of those videos and reading about the characteristics of high scope, creative curriculum, core knowledge, and tools of the mind, you decide which model do you like the best. I know you don't have students that you're matching the personalities or the learning styles to, but what do you like that stands out to you? Chances are there's probably one or two that really you find a connection with. I'd like you to share on Padlet answers to those questions. Now, if you're not purchasing a curriculum or you're not using a state curriculum, what are the sources of curriculum? How do we get curriculum? And we have basically four sources of curriculum. Listen to the video description of these four sources if you're building your own curriculum. Now, the important stuff. How do you use the curriculum to write a lesson plan from the standards that are given to you? And so, sorry about that. Here are the steps we're going to go through. The first thing you need to do is find a standard. And so we're going to work with the Pennsylvania State Standard website because this is where, if you are in pre-K and up for the state of Pennsylvania, this is what you'll use for planning. So you can click here to go right back to that website if you haven't visited already. Watch this how-to video and it will share with you the process of going in and finding a standard to teach. It's actually very simple, so watch that short how-to video. The next step in lesson planning is finding the big idea and the essential question of your lesson, and we call this curriculum alignment. So again, we will watch the how-to video and you can try it on your own right here through this link. After you have really decided what is appropriate to teach and you have that learning standard selected and you know your big idea and essential question, you have to figure out how you want to teach it. What kind of ideas can you generate? And this is the how-to for finding lesson ideas. This is a link to a Pinterest board that will be specific to the lesson you're planning for the lesson plan project, so check that out. After you know the activity that you want to use to teach the standard, you have to write a learning objective. And this is going to be explained to you right here in this video. This is probably the trickiest thing to do in a lesson, although if you keep it simple, it's really not difficult at all. So watch the video, and I want to emphasize that when we are doing our objective writing, right here it connects to an action verb. That's the second step right here. We want to avoid these three words: know, understand, and learn. Those are the verbs that are most commonly used in objective writing, and they are a very poor choice because as teachers, how do we know if a child knows something? How do we know they understand? How do we know they have learned? That's where we have to pick a verb that's more applicable. I just wanted to point out also, when it's time to write your objectives, go to D2L and look at the resources that I have added for writing an objective and also the action verbs. I've provided you lists of action verbs to choose from that are quality verbs, and we want to remember, avoid these verbs. So lots of resources on D2L this week. After you write your objective, you need to write the procedure, and the procedure starts with the lesson opening. This is like your hook or your lead, how you get children excited and motivated to learn in your lesson. We want to do these three things in our lesson opening, and I've got some resources for you right here. If you click on the word here, you can find some math children's literature to teach the math lesson in your lesson plan project you'll be planning this week. And also we have some videos that you could use to open your lesson. And these again are specific to the lesson plan project that you'll be hearing about very soon. After you have your opening, you need to write the rest of your procedure step by step. And you want to make sure that you're including all of these 5 areas in your procedure. This is an example of a procedure in a lesson plan that I have received from a student in the past. And if you go on D2L under the lesson plan project, you'll see an example of the entire lesson plan that this procedure has been taken from. So if you want to see a completed lesson plan, you just go in there and you can check the whole thing out and you can read it and you can use that as your model when you write your own lesson plan. We want to wrap up our lesson plan with a closing, and this explains that to you. And then we want to plan the assessment, and the assessment is how you're going to measure that the students have learned that objective. So in this case, we're going to be looking at comparing numbers, and how do we know that they learned how to compare numbers and are successful at it? So it's basically, what are they going to do to show you that? We don't want to give them a test. That wouldn't be developmentally appropriate. How do we know that they are meeting that learning standard? So read about those. We'll go more into assessment next week, so don't get too worried about it right now, but definitely get a general assessment down for your lesson plan project. 2 more areas to think about when you are planning your lesson is you have to think of the accommodations your learners might need. We have those diverse learners, and we talked about all the different ways our students are diverse. Do you have to make some changes in your lesson delivery, in the materials that you use? How will you adapt for those accommodations? And then also, how can we keep the learning going at home? And so what sort of things that you could have parents do at home to extend the learning in the lesson? These are all components of the lesson plan project, and that'll be explained coming up next. I would like you, before you view the project introduction video, to go into D2L and get the handout, and that'll show you the directions and the rubric that are explored in the video. And this project is due on April 18th, 2016. Aside from the lesson plan project, these are your weekly assignments. This presentation has 4 online participations. You actually get a break this week because we have no Dropbox participation this week. We just have online participation, and it's on slide 15, 16, 21, and 33. Also due this week, though, is our lesson plan project and your effective teaching strategies observation from a couple weeks ago. Just kind of a reminder, we have the Philosophy of Education project introduced at the very beginning of the semester, and I told you when I gave the directions it was an ongoing project that you should be checking back in after we complete a chapter. There's a couple more questions you can answer to compile all of that information together. That's coming up with a due date of April 25th, so make sure that you head in to that project, and hopefully you've been maintaining that every week. If not, there's a lot of things you can answer at this point that are specific to the chapters we've covered recently. And next week we're covering chapter 11 on assessment, so you can skim that chapter. Also, if you're having trouble coming up with an assessment for your lesson plan project, you might head over to chapter 11 and just look through at the examples that they share with you. That is chapter 10 at a glance, and I hope you learn a lot this week. This should be a great week for you to really feel like you're doing the real teacher role.